Is being the NHL's best goal scorer enough for Auston Matthews to become a Hart Trophy finalist? And should Sheldon Keefe continue to spread the wealth with his lineup? Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writers Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan. And guys, 70 goals is something we have not seen in a very, very long time in the NHL. And Auston Matthews needs just 4 more goals in his final 4 games to do it. A lot of the Hart Trophy talk right now seems to be centered around the 3 guys who have 130 or more points this season: Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, and Nikita Kucherov. But Lance, even if Matthews doesn't get to 70 goals, should he still be a Hart Trophy finalist, in your opinion?
I think he'll be a Hart Trophy finalist, certainly. Whether he wins it is quite another matter. Interesting today that the NHLPA player poll came out, and nowhere was Matthews in the top 5 in terms of players that they were asked which forward would make the biggest difference in a clutch game. A couple of other categories he didn't show up in, such as best all-around player, that kind of thing. Interesting that he and William Nylander did score well in the fashion department, but they don't hand out Hart trophies for that. So I think certainly 70 games puts him definitely. I'm sorry, 70 goals puts him definitely in the conversation. But a lot of guys are having great years, and I think if Sidney Crosby somehow drags the Penguins into the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of sentimental voting for him, certainly.
Yeah, just that last point. I think for Crosby, it's well deserved if that happens with the Penguins. And then you look at it and go, well, who does that knock out of the top 5? But for me, if Matthew scores 70, he would be my vote, I think, just because this doesn't happen. Just 14 times in NHL history, of course, we've seen 70 goals. And, like we talked about many a time, guys, and all the players were talking about at the All-Star game. And Jake McCabe made the point again the other night. Matthews scores lots of goals, but there's so much more to his game. And the idea that he gets some love for the Selke Trophy this year isn't without foundation. We know how good he is defensively, both ends of the ice, the middle of the ice, everything that he does, and that type of play in his game doesn't wane. I mean, it's always there as well, just as much as the goal scoring is. So 70 goals is it really is hard to fathom, given that it hasn't happened since 92, 93, of course, and like I said, just 14 times. So he would be certainly that consideration for me. And I guess that comes down to then who comes out. I mean, it is a tough race, but any of McKinnon, McDavid, Kucherov, of course, you make an argument for these guys. But the 100 assists that Kucherov and McDavid are closing in on, but with Matthews, like, it's just so rare. And then, like Lance said, Crosby. If the Penguins get to the playoffs, Crosby has to be top 5. He just has to be.
Yeah. I only add that people will look around and see that the Maple Leafs are very much so a talented depth team, and maybe that may affect the voting in the long run. We'll see.
Another thing, just real quick on the NHL players poll, I saw that today too, but the reminder is Matthews did win the Ted Lindsay just 2 years ago. So there is respect there, but I think a lot of those categories, again, it's, top 5 or whatever. Somebody good is going to be left out of some of them, and Matthews happened to be that guy in this poll.
Well, when it comes to Matthews, he's been able to do a lot of his damage lately without Mitch Marner, who, of course, was injured. And since Marner has returned, Sheldon Keefe has decided to not deviate from his lines, keeping the 4 highest paid forwards on this team. Terry separated on 3 different lines. How have you liked the look of it so far, and do you think it does have staying power?
Well, it's worked. There's no doubts. I mean, and one reason why it has worked is the play of Max Domi and his ability to distribute the puck like he does. We saw it again last night in the goal by Matthews. I mean, the way that play sets up, and Domi kind of takes his time and then finds Matthews in the rear, if you will, and the puck goes in the net for 66. So not only is Domi threading the needle like Austin alluded to after the game, it's just making those smart decisions when he does have the puck. And, so that's allowed Keefe to say, okay, well, I don't necessarily need to put Mitch Marner back there with Matthews right away. Like you said, you distribute it down. I like the McMahon, Tavares, Marner line, and then Nylander on the third line. Also, not bad. I mean, but, we'll see how this goes when Calle Jarnkrok comes back, because he is going to get into the lineup. And, does that, when he comes back in, if he is a third line winger, does that mean that Sheldon Keefe then, bulks up a little bit more, if you will, on the top 2 lines? But it's working really well. And again, I shouldn't, Lance might get to him too, but the way Tyler Bertuzzi has really come on here, scoring in a bushel in the last bushel goals in the last 20 games or so, has also made this a lot easier for Sheldon Keefe to do these sorts of things. Bertuzzi's been great, the player that they hoped he was going to be going in the playoffs. But yeah, overall to me, the look has been fine, and the impact has been good since Marner came back in the lineup. People spread out.
Well, certainly he's getting a lot of value out of this is Keefe and Brad Treliving, of course, getting a lot of value out of Domi and Bertuzzi, who were advertised as playoff performers. Certainly, they've suddenly moved up in that regard, getting hot at the right time. I think it's very interesting where Mitch Marner is going to land eventually. Some people can't see him not being on Matthews' wing when it starts, but you know what? I think the big key will be in playoffs. Power play, when you put all those guys back together, they have to click. There, for whatever reason, it hasn't been coming consistently for them. So when all those stars from those three lines, they have to coalesce together on the power play and make that work. Right now, I don't know. Maybe noses might be out of joint a little bit. Have to see with Marner. Certainly, he must know that there is some recovery time needed for him to get back to full capacity. Interesting, of course, that they moved Matthew Nyes to the fourth line just for a different look, and yet he played really well too. And of course, to Terry's point, Kelly Yarncroc hopefully coming back for the last two games, if not the start of playoffs, and certainly that's going to add to the mix as well. So put it this way, it's a very pleasant problem for Sheldon Keefe to have right now.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily see that noses out of joint. I think the players are all on board with this, to be honest. You don't have that sense, but like Lance says, I mean, most of us think that at some point Marner will get back on Matthews' wing here, and that's fine too. But as long as this keeps going the way it is, let it play out if you're Sheldon.
Yeah, a lot of great options for the coach right now. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.